We do the readouts. I'll call to order. Welcome to the guest. Hi. And Pledge of Allegiance, Jim Evans. You get to do it.
All right, that's right. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okey-dokey. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda in a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Report of closed session action. So we will read the closed session actions. We have two new people joining, well, we have one new person joining the district. We have one person moving up the proverbial ladder. So we'll start with Ian Drummond, Principal, Richardson Middle School, effective August 24th, 2015. I'll read a little bit about Ian. Ian comes to us from Manhattan Beach Unified School District, where he served as Vice Principal at Miracosta High School since 2012. He previously served as an Assistant Principal in the Culver City Unified School District at Culver City High School from 2009 to 2012, an English teacher at Miracosta from 1999 to 2009, and an English teacher at Culver City High School from 1993 to 1999. So I guess we'll break up that Culver City, Manhattan Beach back and forth. Ian received his Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies at the University of California at Santa Barbara in 1990, and his Master of Arts in English at the University of California, Irvine in 2006. We would like to welcome him to the district. And you get the microphone.
Thank you very much. I'm extremely excited to be joining Torrance Unified School District. I'm chomping at the bit. I can't wait to get into Richardson, and I wish the kids were there already, but obviously that would be a problem since I'm not ready for them. But I'm really excited, and I do appreciate everybody for the opportunity and breaking the cycle. As you noted, this is a good thing for me and a great thing, I hope, for Torrance. So thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
The Board of Education in closed session voted unanimously to ratify the following administrative appointment: James Evans, Assistant Principal, West High School, effective August 3rd, 2015. Jim served as an English teacher at West High School since 1991 and District Resource Teacher Assessment and Accountability since 2012. At West High, Jim served as Department Chair, coordinated PLC work, taught AP courses, which meant he never got one of my kids, and served as a master teacher to several student teachers. Yeah, okay. As the District Resource Teacher Assessment and Accountability, Jim was instrumental in facilitating the Common Core, D3/A3, professional development, and his work with the ELI Resource Teacher has helped him with our transition and full implementation of Common Core. He received his BA in English Education at Cal State University Long Beach and his MA Education at Azusa Pacific University in 1998. We would like to congratulate him. Come on up.
Well, thank you to the board. Thank you, and cabinet. I'm excited for the opportunity. There's great things happening in Torrance, and it's been an honor to be a part of them on the classroom side and on the resource teacher side, and now to have the opportunity to continue that on the administration side. And it's been fun so far, learning about scheduling and discipline and athletics. Can't wait for more. Thank you.
Thank you. And it will not upset us if the two of you leave now, go home to your families, whatever you need to do, or you can sit through all of this, whatever this is. So don't, anyway.
Thank you very much.
So, whatever. Or stay with us and learn about the pool. So, item number 8, staff presentation and information. Presentation of the proposed Torrance Unified School District Aquatic Center site plan and exterior elevation options for proposed site. Measure U, Dr. Mannon.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We're delighted tonight to have Mr. Westberg here with us, a man who needs no introductions, for the Torrance Aquatic Center. This is really your first real look at the Aquatic Center. The logo is displayed there thanks to young Mr. Trujillo, who designed that for us. And I was hoping he would be here tonight because we were going to introduce him also with the Aquatic Center, but I think it's a great design with that. And with it, I'll turn it over to Mr. Westberg.
Good evening, President Lee, board members. It's been a fun project so far, and I think it'll be a fun project all the way through. In fact, to be honest with you, I actually have another district right now looking at the same thing. I think you've done a fantastic job. This is the logo that we hope to put on the front of the building. It came to us in one of our planning meetings by your swim coach, and his son seems to be very, very talented. Okay.
Can I ask you a quick question about the logo before you move away from it?
Yes, you can.
Northwest and Torrance have NW and T. The South has only the Spartan instead of the S.
You're right.
That's their logo.
Well, but is there no way to incorporate the S within that?
I am open to all suggestions.
That was my only thought in looking at it again more carefully.
Okay.
Thanks.
Will do. I guess we won't pay him for this then, since so far we haven't paid him. Okay. I think we know the site. We know the day that we presented all the miscellaneous sites to the committee. And we remember the 1,100 softball girls in the city council room, and I'm certainly glad you folks picked this one. Visually, we're looking at the big parking lot, and we're looking at above the baseball field, which is going to be reoriented. Right now, the backstop is in a different location. We also are taking away a little bit of the district's field maintenance yards. And I'm sure there won't be too much of a problem because it looks like it's kind of underutilized out there a little bit, and it's old Navy buildings. There again, to reiterate what I've said in previous meetings, I've had meetings directly with the Sherry site, their principal, and I've had meetings with the Torrance L site and that principal. And everybody is excited about this project. They see it as a real plus to their existing campuses. You can see that we have a drive-in entrance to the facility. You see all the locations. We're not imposing ourselves on SoCal Rock at all. We're not looking to use any of their facilities for access, egress, for parking and driving. We're not looking to penetrate the residential area at all to the west of our site. We're looking at almost 500 parking spaces. We have submitted, I believe, Don, we've submitted our EIRs and have our input back as to what the issues that need to be addressed. Okay.
The EIR is?
Environmental Impact Report.
You'll have it on your September 8th board meeting for approval.
Traffic, parking, all those types of things. All right. Okay, this is just a little bit of expanse. We also have an area between the Sherry site and our proposed improvement that could be a picnic area. You'll see this on some dollar number budgets as we progress through it. But right now, that's where that little softball field is. And that entrance coming into the project, that's pickup and drop off. There's no parking there, no bus parking there. And you can see the juxtaposition to the kindergarten yard to the right of Torrance L. We're not going to hurt their playground very much at all.
How much?
We're going to crumb into it a little bit, but I don't think we're going to hit any of the existing play structures. There's a lot of grass out there right now. Okay. And I did, yes.
In the bottom right-hand corner, beyond where to the east of the facility, you're showing dotted lines, which used to mean fences to me, beyond the building to the east.
Yeah, those lines right there are that pathway to Sherry from the the turnaround parking area?
That's existing fencing?
Yes.
Okay, so that's existing fencing, so between the fence to the west, to the, where the back wall of the
We're showing
pool
another
would be.
little fence, aren't we?
Right,
Yeah.
so what goes in there?
Some of those lines are just graphic lines for now. We can certainly come back as we get this schematic design more evolved, and also with your review of how you would like to, as a board, see that space between the Aquatic Center and Sherry. All right, where we might put benches and places for picnics.
And Sherry doesn't have any PE programs or anything that use any of that space?
Sherry doesn't have a problem with that at all.
No, and they do have that part between their existing portables down there right above the word proposed, and the 4 beautiful trees that we are not touching.
It's that area, Michael. That's what they use.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, that's an old Navy building that we're cutting into, or I assume just...
Way up at the top?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Stefan. That's kind of an old garage.
We don't...
It's a pole structure, as I remember, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Stabler's taking care of that through...
There's not going to be any abatement or anything.
Yes, and I, as
We
just...
already checked, there's not a problem.
As a clarification, and also our budget is not inclusive of the baseball field, and it's not inclusive of certain parts of the parking. That's being handled by Dr. Stabler in another fashion.
When we do this, at one time, months and weeks ago, I got a good memory on some things. We actually made the statement that we may clean up a little bit in our groundskeeping yard in that whole process. I'm assuming that's going to be part of that, because we're cutting into the building, obviously, we got other things we got to do in that area. Okay, good, because that's always been a bit of an eyesore, so.
Will the baseball field be covered under bond dollars?
No.
Other money.
Let me ask one more question. I have the drawing when we originally did the placement and sort of thought how it would be, and it is squared off instead of slanted the way we had it on the original drawing.
It being what?
The pool.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, the pool
Okay.
itself. That it was angled a little bit differently, and so
Yeah.
it does seem like it's, go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Reagan, one of the things that we have at our disposal now that we did not have at the start of this evolution, and that was an actual survey of the site. So
That's helpful.
Yes, that certainly is helpful. We were actually working off of a Google map,
Oh, okay.
and we really didn't have an idea of scale, and how big is big and how little is little.
Okay.
So we do now have that pretty good handle on that, and so we're probably going to push and pull here a little bit as we get deeper into this project. But for all intents and purposes, it is as portrayed.
And there's no potential for cutting through to the other traffic circle on the other side
No.
for access?
No.
Walk there.
You walk there, and that's what that little gated dotted
Right.
space is.
But I don't think you want vehicles running through there, or you would have some issues with the...
I'm just thinking, it seems like a bottleneck to have everything funneled down into this.
Well, then you would also have people throughout the city probably using it as a throughway.
Yeah,
Yeah, you would.
really wouldn't want to have that, because, I
Yeah.
mean, you
Plus-
effectively have that on the north edge of Wilson Park, where you can cut through there and come by our
You're absolutely
River
right.
Center and that kind of stuff, and it's kind of the, I mean, it's striped now because it
Right.
became used that way over
Yeah.
a period of time.
Plus, we were quite restrained on
I think the ingress
budget.
and egress onto Crenshaw from this site, since it's not signalized,
Correct.
is
Yeah.
going to be treacherous on its own.
Let's
Yeah,
go,
we
let's
have
go,
to
let's
do
go
that.
back to that. This is going to be a turn in right, and it's going to be a turn out right. All right, no signalization.
No left turn.
And we have not spoken to the city about any signalization. That could be $500,000 more.
Yeah.
No, the city is not willing to do
Yeah,
signalization.
that's right.
So let's
Because
just
there's
get it all
another-
straight
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Right.
Now, the other piece, as Mr. Lee, I think, is absolutely correct, but we have no complaints from neighbors on that side
Right.
going into Torrance L. If we open that up, now you're going to have to go back with the EIR, and you are going to have complaints for traffic.
Yeah, this is, I think having any access through Apple and all of that and Lincoln from that side would create probably an undue hardship to the neighborhood to the east.
Yes.
Really
But
does.
But if foot traffic is available, even that for drop-off and pickup
It
is
is.
what I was thinking.
It is, it can be wide open.
So, okay.
If you can see right down at the bottom of our pool area, you can see a pathway that
Yes.
goes from there all the way around to the front door. Okay?
But I would strongly discourage any use of the Torrance parking lot, at least personally, for any aquatic facility, event at all. Just strongly, either to the tune of blocking the gate if there's a facility going on, because I really don't, it isn't designed for that, nor is that neighborhood prepared for that. And the better place for people to park would be to the west and certainly not to the east.
And
That's
we've got
why we have
plenty.
500 parking
Yeah,
lots.
and Mr. Lee, as you will find out when we present the EIR to you on September 8th, that was the designation that we made, that all of the parking for the aquatic center would be there in that triangle, and they, you know, they were aware of the walkway, but that's all they were aware of coming from that side.
And that by itself could be a problem, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
This has not varied much since you have seen it last. The four main goals, goal number one is each of the high schools is going to have a sole and separate male and female shower locker room, and it'll be identified graphically on the elevations. Goal number two was to have the big performance pool and also the warm-up cool-down pool. Goal number three was to have bleachers within the facility, and goal number four was to have as much possible shade structure as possible for everyone. That shade structure, as you'll see in the renderings, also is carrying a possible solar water heating system as well as the roof. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. Any questions on this?
Yeah, on this
floor
drawing, are those doors in and out both sides of the building where the locker rooms are?
plan? No. No, they're
That's
only.
just windows on the
Yes,
backside?
just windows on the backside.
Okay.
Actually, on the front side.
Oh, the front side,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
front
Yeah, that
elevation,
is the
you
front.
only have one point of entry, and that'll be a controlled point of entry. There will be offices there. There will be a potential ticket booth there. You can see within the enclosed portico or the covered portico, we will have public restrooms. We have facilities for a small multi-purpose space where they can have different events where there's registration from the outside swim teams. We also, where you see the big circle is where we're going to have a very large digital TV screen with all kinds of lettering for all the events and how they're going. All right?
No, that's the full deck.
Okay.
You call it a multi-purpose room?
10 was the-
It's a room to be used any way they so deem.
That
Room
was,
N.
the this requested that.
this circle.
Interesting.
Because the coaches wanted a space that could be for any kind of purpose, could be for registration, could be, as they indicated, can be a press room, can be, you know, a center where they can get athletes together. I mean, it's just a space, and the coaches felt that was a necessary space to have available.
And there's also four little spaces where a coach can take privately a swimmer and have discussions outside of earshot. Okay?
Above and beyond their office is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that would be their offices, right?
Oh, okay, those S's.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to overindulge them.
I actually have two other questions. I actually am concerned that there's not access to the bathrooms directly from the locker rooms, that you have to go outside. Being a female and knowing what it's like to be in a one-piece swimsuit and get it up and down when it's wet.
Oh, yes, I would, Ms. Reagans, there is a restroom in each one of the shower.
Oh, we did
Yes.
change that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes. But
All right.
that's additional bathrooms there in the center.
And you said there were public restrooms besides the
Yeah,
J and K?
if you look at the front entry, the big, to the right, coming in the front door,
U and
Yeah.
first thing
U
you
and
see
B?
to the right,
Okay.
yeah.
And then 9 says pool covers.
Yes.
So that's storage space for the pool
Yes.
covers?
Yes, those roll out on the big wheels.
Oh, that's where that'll sit,
All
okay.
right, that's
I
to
got
keep
you.
the water
Okay.
warm.
Okay.
All right, and that's a task that Dr. Manna has indicated that he's going to have some staff members there, because that's not an easy task, morning and night to do that, but that's going to keep the water a little bit warmer. Any other questions on the plan itself? Okay. All right, one of the tasks that was given to us was that Irving Gill is a famous architect, has done many, many things in this city. And so we have two different sets of elevations here. Basically, the buildings are exactly the same other than the front graphic portrayal of the types of arbors. And so the top one is about a $55,000 to $60,000 less expense on this overall project than the one with the barrel arches. The buildings themselves are all going to be masonry, so they're going to last, well, it certainly lasts long enough that you'll never call me again, because I won't be around here any longer. They'll last a long time. And so structurally, we're going to put as much steel frame, framing in the walls within all the shower locker rooms, and masonry. So there isn't much wood inside the building. It's all going to be fairly waterproof. And then the third elevation down there is looking from the bleachers within the pool complex. And you can see we've also identified the entry into each of the 4 high schools' locations by a color and graphic to each one. And in the middle, that right-hand little pergola, that's where we're going to have the big Jumbotron, out there. Not an inexpensive item itself.
Up above.
Up above.
Now, you say option number 2 is more expensive than option number 1.
That's correct.
I like number 2 better. That must be
So do I.
my good taste then.
So do I.
We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and then there's some renderings down below of old famous buildings that Irving Gill did. And see, we're trying to do in 2015 somewhat of a match, Mr. Lee.
Well, I mean, the one thing I think that is probably closest is the Church of Christ Scientist in San Diego was the one that had the arches and the bell tower and those kinds of things.
Now, is that the one in the middle down there, you think?
I think so, yeah.
I think it
I'm not
is.
sure. Well, I don't know. It isn't the typical street side view, but that may be an interior view.
Okay.
So, but Gill was, certainly Jared Sidney Torrance's favorite architect, at least, or at least maybe the
Absolutely.
Olmsted brothers.
I was not that familiar with him, but since I've taken on this project, I've kind of immersed myself in it a little bit.
Interesting guy. Never
Interesting
graduated
guy.
from high school for an architect.
That wasn't
But anyway,
unusual.
Okay, good.
You've done it for years. You know you don't need to.
Absolutely. 1974, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Long time ago. Okay, here's some kind of visual graphics with the Irving Gill look to the front of the facility, so you can get kind of an idea. People on the right are walking from that gate that you want to make sure isn't open anymore. Actually, they're walking from the picnic area.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. And so you can see that the drive around through the area. Whether that sign goes there or goes somewhere else, I know that one of the things that Dr. Mannon has enlisted my pro bono efforts on, and that would be to create some visual signs for Crenshaw. Kind of thinking because the district's going to kind of walk up and down the street and looking for contributions. Yeah. And then the lower rendering is looking from a back corner. That's the warm-up pool in front of you, and then the competition pool across the way from it. But you're getting kind of a sense of the covered walks, the covered canopies. And some of these covered canopies are going to be where teams are going to hang out. Also, the bleachers are all going to be the aluminum bleachers like we have at all 4 stadiums. One of the comments that interestingly was made in our discussion items that if you did it in concrete, the problems have always been that the wet trunks kind of still have the spot on the concrete for somebody else not to want to sit on. And so we're going to have all of these aluminum bleachers, okay?
I think also a couple of points by a couple of committee members is that the shade screens also they felt was a really nice family extension piece that in many cases when kids come to swim, they not only bring their parents, they'll bring grandparents, some folks who may have disability, and it's a real problem at some swimming pools. This would allow families to potentially bring a deck chair or a folding chair, people who may need assistance with wheelchairs could be in this area and they could stay there as a family together. Also the sunshades we'll provide another piece, which I'll talk about at the end, and that is your solar panels will go over those, you know, on the top part with it. So, you know, I think that the bottom one is picture is an important piece for you so that you can really see how it will look once you're inside.
You also can see that the bleachers are more focused to the competition pool than the warm-up pool.
And that was a big deal by the people on the committee.
So even if we had the rounded arches outside, it would still be the squared off?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes it more
Inside.
structural sense.
Yeah, and this is another good scene that Paul has done. You know, when we'll assign one of our drones over there, you know, so, you know, the drone can go up during meets, you know, and you could see from that perspective. But you can really see the perspective of the pool and the warm-up cool-down pool along with where the bleachers will be sitting there.
Cool.
You had mentioned, you started mentioning, you know, accessibility. Are we going to have to put one of those lifts in?
We are.
We are. They're required by the state.
Those are required?
State and feds. Yep.
State and feds.
Yeah.
One more
All going to
question.
the pool the first day.
On that elevation, actually, the building that you were saying the Jumbotron was going to be on is quite recessed.
It will not be, and of course, it's going to be, though this is a little deceiving, it's going to be the center line of those bleachers on the right-hand side.
Right.
It's up there,
Yeah, yeah.
not here.
It's
There.
yeah, no, it's the right-hand
Okay.
tile roof.
Right.
And if you follow that bridge that's going across, that's the center of the pool, so that's what it'll be.
The bulkhead. Right, right. Okay,
All right, I guess this is me, huh, Paul?
it is.
All right, I told Paul I would do the last piece. Based upon where we are right now, and this is a soft estimate, and by soft, I mean soft, we're about 900,000 over. Now, what causes this is, I'm going to drop you down, and then I'll talk about the architecture. If you look at the solar water panels, heating panels, that's $232,000. We had never thought about initially utilizing those. Our recommendation is not to cut them. The reason being twofold. One is, based on the data that we've looked at, we will recoup that in 7 years. Actually, it's less than 7 years from our gas bill.
And that's just hot water to the pool.
That's hot water to the pool. So
You're
we'll
just pumping
recoup-
water through some black pipe on top of
Good
black
old-fashioned.
plastic.
You bet.
Exactly right. And
Modern day
so
version of it.
in 7 years, we've got a payback immediately with that. It also is reducing our bill by about $40,000 a year after that fact. So we would indicate that we think that's a good thing to leave in. Scoreboard, as Paul called Jumbotron, you can kind of see that. That's $145,000 for that. We're actually looking at sponsorship for that. Paul will be doing some renderings. Mr. Lee and I have had a discussion about it. We're going to look at a sponsor for the entire facility, potentially corporate sponsor, but if we need to, corporate sponsor for that Videotron. Now, it does a couple of things. One, remember this whole place is electronic. It's electronic touchpads, all of that hooked up to the video, so the immediate scores or times go up on it. The other piece is we can run anything we want on that. It's as good as a television screen, for example. So any pieces, if we want to have the capability, which we could have the capability of doing a replay of a race up there, we can do that. So it's got all those capabilities. Fencing and outdoor area, and Paul has, that's why I say this is soft. Landscape and irrigation, $142,000. I don't really know. It's 142, could be cheaper than that depending on what we do. Benches and tables at 10, drinking fountains 2,200. That's for your outdoor picnic area. Could we cut the outdoor picnic area? If board says cut it, we can cut it. It's an area that probably will have congregations of people and families, you know, should we have that. And then I'm going to take you all the way back up to the top, and that is your difference between the two options. The difference is $51,000, which I don't think makes a whole lot of difference, quite frankly, in a project this size. So if in fact the board says we like the rounded arches, choose rounded arches, it's $51,000 difference, but again, I wouldn't cut it, but that's up to you from an architectural standpoint. So right now, what I would suggest is we just need, Paul needs guidance, whether the arches or no arches. The rest of this we should leave in, I think, for this time, since all this is soft, and we'll continue to work on it. We're also working on to see if we can find some different subsidies that can be used for the solar also. So we're on that also with that, which could end up being even cheaper for us to do with that. But overall, we're in pretty good shape, we think, on this project. It is a great project.
So, but right now, as it stands, soft-wise, we're at 900,000, almost $1 million over.
Well, yeah, we are just about 900,000 over.
Okay, then let me kind of follow up on that a little bit. When Measure U was put in place, we budgeted
$15 million.
And then there was a contingency budget on top of that of
20%.
20%. So we've got a little wiggle room within the budget that if these things are deemed to be important to the board and the community, that we've got, it isn't going to be taken out of technology or something. There's contingencies built into this.
Yeah.
And at this point, we really don't have, we haven't sent it out to bid. We know nothing like that at this point. So who knows, it come back $1 million under. So
I don't think it will, but
no, I understand.
That happens all the time.
But I do think, and I will tell you this, and I appreciate where you were going, Mr. Lee, with that. Remember, when I say 15, that counts everything. That counts Paul's fees, everything for a total project. But I think where Mr. Lee's going, and I believe it is the correct place to go with this, is we believe the cost of the pools themselves are dead on. They are not soft, and in fact may actually be a little bit high at this point. So we could, if it was bid today, we think the pools themselves would come in lower than what we actually have them.
Okay, let me follow up a little bit on that though, because when we go out to bid, these are all alternates anyway.
That's what I think they should.
So the arches versus the more
that
traditional.
would not be
No,
an
he
We
needs
have to
direction
design
on
it.
that.
Need direction on that. But the picnic area,
Picnic
the
area.
solar heating panels,
All
all
can
of
be
that can be
alternates.
alternates. Take
Scoreboard.
on.
We can
Scoreboard can all be alternates. So I would like us to see us do that.
As
just so we've got
adults.
that kind of flexibility. And then, yeah, I think, given what I've seen in the community and various other things getting or sponsored, soccer fields, random buildings at City Hall, I would think that this is the kind of facility, if some of us put our salesman hat on, we may be able to go out and find some money in the community to kind of help us with this, either with the hard cost or the operational cost. Yes.
If I could add one thing also, this district, us included, have been looking at modernization projects for the last 8 years, where there's a whole ton of unknowns every time we enter into a existing structure. Here we're scraping earth. We think we know what's under the earth, but that point up, it's all new. It's a little more controllable.
Right.
So I'm not thinking that we're going to have, a whole bunch of out of left field surprises.
New construction, yeah.
Okay. And then,
Mr. Lee, if I could add one point to what you were just saying. I think Paul needs a decision on the architecture, and again, it's a small piece, so I think you just give him that. I would also open to you that we should leave the solar in, just so it can all be engineered, since we know it can pay for itself in 7 years.
and we think there may be other
We will,
grants, other
we're going
things
after
out there.
that. We're going after that.
Yeah, there's
but-
all kinds of corporations that are
But your
interested in that.
scoreboard and your outdoor picnic area and your landscaping, I think all that can be alternates, just like you said.
Okay,
I'm okay with the arches.
So am I.
I prefer the arches.
okay, as the former president of the Historical Society, I can probably talk about this. I think it's important, at least for me personally, that this is probably the most significant public building built in Torrance, probably since the Madrona Marsh building, really, and that was built in 2000. And I think architecturally it has to say something. I just think it has to say something in the community. You know, there's nothing too ornate about Irving Gill at all, so, you know, this.
That's true.
That's true. And I think functionally for this building, it works rather nicely. I think it's visually nice without having it be a maintenance nightmare, because it's just flat and arches. And I think we owe it to the community to have something they can be proud of. I mean, it's always easier, you know, we could roll, you know, 25 containers out there and throw stucco on the outside and dig a pool, maybe save a few $100,000, but, you know, you end up with something that this will last for, heck, the Benstead Plunge was built in the mid-50s. So, you know, that's, you know, facility is now 60 years old. So I would suspect that this one will have that kind of longevity or even longer. So I think the arches, I think, have a place in this design. I think it is the kind of thing that the community can be proud of. It's not the plunge, as I like to say, but it's something that for people that want to use an aquatic facility, the community as a whole, and probably the region as a whole, will get to use this facility. But it will be North High's, West High's, South High's, and Torrance High's facility first, foremost, ahead of everybody else in the line, because that's what we promised to them. And I think it's be kind of cool to have this kind of facility. So look forward to it. So can I get a motion for arches?
You actually don't need.
Oh, that's right.
As long as you reach consensus, which I think you did, then we'll just follow that direction.
Good.
I have a quick question about
Yes.
drinking fountains, since you brought it up on the last slide. Are there drinking fountains within the facility?
Oh, absolutely.
That it's,
That would be on the exterior.
Yeah, he's not Walter O'Malley. It's an inside joke.
and
Has before my time.
can we do cooling stations rather than drinking fountains? Where you can refill the sports bottles? Because the kids need that.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take that,
Yeah.
John. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we just going to ignore the last slide?
Is it Dr. Mann?
No, my,
Yeah, we can certainly read that.
thank you. That is,
We're on schedule.
yeah, that is all on schedule.
You haven't started.
It is our belief
Tomorrow.
that by the fall of 2017, it will be ready for the teams.
So we've got, I read this as best one could, it's very difficult to read. We've got from now till September of 2016, just getting it created and through DSA.
Right.
The biggest chunk of that is getting it through DSA.
It always is.
Big, long.
I'm saying that out loud, so that four
Yes.
people at home watching it on TV
Absolutely.
can understand that the biggest challenge to this process is the Division of State Architects has to approve it, and it takes, if I remember, it was a number of days here, 26 weeks, just for that part of it.
We're hoping that.
We hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope.
It could be longer,
We hope.
so,
Yes.
okay. And then Mr. Sagal can build it in a year.
No, Charlie Brown told me he can build anything in a year. That was his comment.
Mr. Sagal's been,
18 months.
He's not here tonight, see?
Well, thank you, Paul.
Great.
thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Exciting
Looking forward to it.
stuff.
Okay, discussion action items. Everybody can leave that wants to leave. It will not hurt our feelings at all, or you can stay all the way to the end. Discussion action items, I need a motion to, yes,
No, I'll make a motion to approve items, we can't.
number 2.
Number 2.
We do one at a
Discussion
time.
action item. Approve the revised Torrance Unified School District wellness policy. So I need a motion in a second. Dr. Mannon, Dr. Stowe.
Dr. Stengler.
Yes, if you remember, about a month ago, you had a presentation by Lisa concerning the survey, and the information from the survey has been included in this wellness policy, and both Mrs. Deutsch and Mrs. Reagans were part of that committee. And so we're asking for your approval to move ahead with this policy.
Good, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item number 3, approval to award bid number 01-07, 23.15 Cashmere Middle School Modernization Project, bid packages 1 through 22.
Yeah.
Motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Yes, this is, I'm sure you're aware, this is a multiple prime project with Balfour Beatty being the general contractor. We have a bid that we think is very competitive, and we'd like your approval.
Good. Just for the 4 people out there, multi-prime sounds like something out of a Transformer movie. But what multi-prime means is that every single electrical, plumbing, all those things go out to bid individually in packages. We pick the low bidder if we go forward.
Correct.
So just so there's certainly some conversation about lease back versus what is the layman would refer to as low bid by project, but we refer to as multi-prime.
Correct.
Okay, good.
I'm just going to have a basic question on all these. I mean, are these figures, the 5 million, the 5.4, are they within the expected, the budgeted amount?
Well, if you remember, we had the original budget that you put together prior to the original measure Y and Z. No, these are higher than that. These are the budgets that were brought forward to you when we were talking about schematic plans. And so, yes, they're within those budgets. Okay. It's the same. Remember, you already approved it once when you were looking at lease-back. Now we're doing multi-prime there, and within those budgets, yes.
But Cashmere and Jefferson are including, do they include the new gyms?
Not on this.
Not on this.
That was my
We'll
question.
get that
It's separate.
It is separate, so, okay.
Because remember, that's a
Mr.
different
Waters.
measure.
I have a question to our Balfour Beatty friends. I noticed from looking through this, we don't have a large quantity. Back in 2009, right after I got elected, you had everybody and their brother bidding on everything they could bid on. In fact, one thing actually only had one bidder on it. Are we having a harder time finding bidders?
Yeah, the bidding climate.
Don, you want to
We
come
gotta
up
be
here?
at the microphone.
Nice try. Sorry, buddy. I want to see the shirt. That's why I did this.
Yeah, the bidding climate is pretty hot right now. We're struggling to find bidders.
And it seemed like there was a fairly wide range in bid numbers. They went real high, real low. Yeah. Back when I used to do this kind of work, you bid high when you didn't have the time to look through the documents right, so you just kind of grabbed a number and stuck it on there. So you've seen some of that as well then, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
But we're happy with the numbers. They came out within budget, so.
Yeah, it just, obviously right now in the press and everything else is lease back. I'm assuming that from your chair, it's a more comfortable position to actually be in a lease back environment than you would be in a multi-prime bid, because your boundaries are much more narrow in a multi-prime. You've got to deal with this particular vendor as opposed to, you know, your vendors of choice or vendors that you work with in the past.
Well,
I put you on the spot. Right. I apologize.
You're right. Everything is cut and dry. Yes. In some ways, you're right.
Yeah, I read through all the bid documents, and there was it seemed like a large quantity of lack of bids. There's a whole bunch of no bids from all the vendors you were looking for. So I was surprised by that, but the economy has changed. So
unfortunately, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 4, approval to award bid number 02-07.23.15 or dashes or whatever. Here we go.
So moved.
Jefferson Middle School Modernization Project, bid packages 1 through 20.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Okay. No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Approval to award bid number 07-08.10.15, Torrance Unified School District Security Fencing Project Phase 1. Dr. Stabler or Dr. Manning?
Thank you, Mr. President. The important point on this one is this involves both wrought iron and chain link fencing for 15 schools is what you're approving. That would be all the schools that actually have completed modernization, with the exception of one school, which is Arnold, which was declared a safety issue, which is why we're doing it. And when we're doing it, you will see wrought iron, chain link, for example, Jefferson and Casimir, that's rolled in, and you'll receive another, later on, another ad for T&U for Jefferson and Casimir, which will include not only, as Mr. Lee pointed out, their gyms, it will include fencing also. And you will see that as we go through, because fencing is included. And then what you also see, and I just want to remind all of you of this, since Jefferson and Casimir are middle schools, when we bring you back those others for the gym and for the fencing for those schools, not these that you're approving tonight, it will also include lockers. So you're going to start seeing T&U projects rolling out, which will be separate from these bids that you're actually approving. But what you're approving tonight is the actual fencing, both wrought iron and chain link, for 15 schools, 14 of which have already been completed.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, we're administrative and all the bond consent items. We have items number 1 through 3. How do we want to handle those?
I'll make a motion to approve items 1 through 3 on the administrative series of bond consent items.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Lee?
Oh, yes, you wanted to say something at the end.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Tomorrow is an important day for Mr. Lee, and because he has a wonderful wife, Mrs. Jean Lee came by today and is providing cupcakes for everyone in the audience included, to celebrate Mr. Lee's birthday tomorrow. So Shelley is going to put out the cupcakes now.
Wait, do we get to sing?
Would you like to lead us?
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. No.
Okay, no,
Motion
Mr.
to
President
adjourn.
says motion to adjourn.
Second. We are adjourned.
All right, come up and have a cupcake.
Happy birthday!
I think that's funny.
Cupcakes last night.
Sweetie.
My mother made cupcakes. See all these cupcakes. I didn't think it would be out for cocktail.